Peace, peace, peace. This is your host, Rakim Shabazz of Wazadome TV. And today we're going to kind of get started on something new a little bit. This is a segment that I call the rundown, where we're just going to build on different topics that may be trending, topics that are important. Um, and they're not necessarily going to be interviews. It's just going to be a build, and we'll go through some articles. And normally it's going to be live though, and it'll definitely be interactive with everyone. But right now, time is of the essence. I got a lot going on, and so I gotta get these done whenever I can, and so that kind of makes it a little bit tougher to go live. But yeah, moving forward, it'll definitely be live and more interactive. So I definitely appreciate you guys for tuning in. Um, Today's build is going to be about MAGA, including Black MAGA, Christian nationalism, and this fake culture war, right? But before we do that, I kind of wanted to just say and give my respects to a lot of these great artists that we have lost in 2025, such as Roberta Flack, Angie Stone, and just now recently, Dwayne Wiggins of Tony, and Roy Ayers. Man, those are all heavy losses on its own, man, on their own, man. So much respect to them. Black music and black art is often more than just art. It is often political, and you can see that, especially with Roy Ayers' catalog. You know what I'm saying? And so whenever you get a chance, if you're not familiar with the red, black, and green, and songs like "The Mind Part Two," definitely tap into Roy Ayers' catalog, man. You won't be disappointed. Definitely a man of the people, great musician and visionary. You know what I'm saying? So definitely wanted to pay my respects to them. And now we can get into it as far as MAGA, Christian nationalism, and this fake culture war, right? And so what inspired the build was I was on Facebook, which I am no longer on. Sometimes I get on there to promote a show or a project that I'm working on, but then I'll get right off because the discourse on there is insane most of the time. I just can't be subject to seeing shit like that all day long. For those who are still holding on, I don't know how you do it. You know what I'm saying? But more power to you. You know what I'm saying? It's just a place where I choose not to spend a lot of my cyber time in. For that very reason, because a lot of times you just are exposed to just the wildest of takes, and people will argue you down about bullshit, regardless to whom or what. Um, they will argue you down about bullshit, and then you can see over time um, people's ideologies begin to change. People being influenced to go down these different rabbit holes that are destructive as hell to African people and all oppressed people worldwide. And you see them begin to, he's like, yo, this not the dude that or sister that I was building with 4 years ago on here. When we became friends. It gets you start to see people change. And I know we don't necessarily know people from social media, but you can definitely see a change in people's thought patterns, and you can kind of guess what rabbit holes media-wise they have gone down. I've seen people go from yelling "the black man is God" to uh, "make America great again," and Donald Trump is the savior of America and democracy. I was literally seeing that shit with my own eyes. I don't necessarily know uh, how. how you get there if you are someone who is actively studying, because your level of discernment should be a lot better if you are working out your mind like you're supposed to be. But I don't think a lot of these people are really reading. I think they are consuming a lot of other media, though. It kind of reminds me of, I saw a documentary once about people who were, I guess, more liberal in their politics. And don't get me wrong, this show is not going to be an endorsement of liberals, neoliberals, or the Democratic Party, because that's not what this is. A lot of times, y'all like to do that. Like if I talk about MAGA, you say, "Oh, well, you must be a Democrat." Well, and then if I talk about the Democrats, they say, "You must be MAGA." That's your own limited thinking and unable to see outside of the duopoly. That's you. That ain't me. That's not how I get down. So, uh, before you even kind of go there, just understand that I've this is not what that is. But anyway, I saw uh, documentary once, and it was talking about how um, it was showing how these white liberals, and a lot of them were elder, you know, went went down the Fox News rabbit hole, and it changed their politics to become more like what they were hearing on Fox News. They became anti-immigration. They became fearful of Black people and immigrants and all those marginalized groups taking over, right? Fear was planted in them, and then they became paranoid, and they became locked into this information cycle from Fox News and channels like it. And it was just interesting to see how that happened. Um, and because propaganda is real, um, as much as you don't like to think that you are able to be propagandized, if you have a brain, you are, especially if you are consuming uh, the same type of the same type of thing over and over and over and over. I read a study that said that Americans are subject to 4,000 to 10,000 ads a day, and these ads include, ads of promoting consumerism, ads promoting white nationalism and American exceptionalism, and we receive that type of information every day, 4,000 to 10,000 ads every single day. Um, And so just take the time to think about that. That's 4,000 to 10,000 ads, whether it be ads on social media, commercials, um, whether it be ads on social media or commercials that you see whenever you're watching TV, or ad placement in the shows and movies that you watch. And like we just stated, art is political. So whether you're watching TV shows or for instance, like there one show, what was the show? What was that show? Came on Amazon. Um, uh, what was that? It's going. Alex Cross, right? Right. A great show as far as acting and stuff, but obviously there's messaging in that show that was straight up propaganda. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not able to really peep what's going on, you can begin to internalize these messages where there's some cool cops that are down for the cause and, that kind of thing. So again, people get caught up in these thought loops, and a lot of it is because of the media that they choose to consume every day, and they get sucked into what this idea of saving democracy is and saving the values of America. saving the values of America and making America great again. And if you're an African in America, you have to really question that, right? Because obviously, since we have uh, come across this term, our response has, when has America ever been great, right? When has America been great for the African? From 1526 to 1619, and the arrival of the first Africans here in America. And then before that, with the genocide of indigenous peoples by European colonizers, right? So the culture war started then. The real culture war started then when European colonizers and enslavers came and said, look at those savages, whenever they saw indigenous people, right? Began to, over time, separate them from their culture and Christianize them, right? Make them see their own language as something that is demonic. Make them see their own religions as something that is demonic. And when we look at the papal bull that actually sanctioned slavery, we see that that was the same principle, right? The Portuguese, you have we're given permission by the Pope and the Catholic Church to whenever you run across these dark savages who um, who need to be Christianized, you have the right to take their land, their resources, and enslave them. And so this war on culture has started long before uh, MAGA, but the way it's presented and packaged, um, a lot of Black MAGA are accepting it as to be something else. And so I was having a conversation on Facebook about the connection between J. Edgar Hoover and the rise of white Christian nationalism. And Black MAGA pushed back and said what it is a rise in fighting against liberalism, right? Um, they said that it was a rise in fighting against liberalism. And I find that ironic because choosing or siding with MAGA and becoming MAGA because of your issues, rightfully so, with liberals and neoliberalism is like saying, I'm going to quit meth and start smoking crack. That's the equivalent for me. What do you, this is really just like a lateral movement that you're making. You know what I'm saying? A lateral move that you're making. Like it's very strange to me. And one of the arguments that they were using was, look, you can see the rise of a war against liberals happening all over the world, and they begin to send me these articles. And the interesting thing about these articles were they were only talking about the rise of white nationalism in European nations, because white nationalism is directly connected to this culture war that you are seeing in the news and in in coming out of these politicians' mouths, right? It is not necessarily just a war on liberalism. It is a war on everything that is not white. And the way of life that the white man, and I say that literally, the way of life that white men deem as the only proper way of life. White, Christian, conservative, American values. American values um, killed 90% of the indigenous people that it encountered. American values enslaved our ancestors. And so it's so weird to see a lot of times these black MAGA people really go really go so hard in um, perpetuating these ideas of we're fighting against we're fighting against liberalism because it's not that simple. And also the interesting part about that idea is it's also a distraction. It's something that is designed to distract you from what the real issues are and always have been, which is white hegemony, uh, capitalism, imperialism, and the material conditions of the people, the wealth gap growing and growing and growing, CEO wages growing and growing and growing while workers wages are staying stagnant and the cost of living is uh, going getting higher and higher and higher to the point where it's making people but it's making it hard to live. This is they're distracting you with this fake culture war. A lot of these people aren't even Christians, really. White Christian nationalism is it's a way that they use the church to push this idea of America first, right? Many of them don't even really know what's in the Bible. Um, they just know that they hate Muslims. They just know that uh, uh, white people in America got their wealth because this has always been a meritocracy. And if black people just pull themselves up by their bootstraps, get some financial literacy, they too can have a piece of the pie. When 76% of the pie is owned by the top 10% of the ruling elite, they even fall into the myth, right? They're even distracted. Even white folks, white MAGA, are even distracted by what's being said in this fake culture war. Because again, they begin to, perpetuate the idea that Trump and an apartheid baby Elon Musk are here to save democracy. Who are they here to save democracy from? Black people, brown people, socialists, Muslims, women, LGBT people. We got to save American Christian values, right? We have to protect women's reproductive rights by taking them away. You know what I'm saying? Which, in my opinion, is just a ploy to get the birth numbers up of white Americans in this country because they have been stagnant for a while. Some states they're having negative birth rates because they're not worried about um, So with your children, with our children, they can just lock them up and keep them, in a system that will make it extremely hard for them to be quote unquote successful, right? They have ways of going to war against our children. Um, it's all kind of rooted in that great replacement theory, um, which is very, which is it's funny that it's not talked about much, but you can see a lot of these policies are directly influenced by uh, the great replacement theory and the idea of the browning of America. And it's very definitely interesting. But yeah, so whenever I see Black people perpetuating these ideas of this culture war, um, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. And so one of my homies, he read a book called The Gospel of J. Edgar Hoover, written by Professor Lerone Martin. Now, I personally haven't read this book. I have I have other things right now that I have to kind of read in place of this. But I'll definitely buy this and get to it one of these days. But he definitely recommended and said it was dope. But this is the professor here. I believe he is a professor at Stanford, Lerone Martin, and he kind of talks about just what inspired the book, and some of the contents, and just a brief summary of what you can find in the book. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm going to play that real quick. First, just want to make sure. Uh, yeah, we got the sound on. We got the sound on. I did that the last time. Sound wasn't on. You know. But anyway, so let's go.
The FBI connected with conservative Christian groups in American history, especially white evangelicals, to promote white Christian nationalism as the only form that would keep America safe during the Cold War. And finally, by policing a certain kind of religion and citizenship in America. The FBI sanitized and endorsed a certain kind of white Christian nationalism as the only way to be a citizen, but also policed other forms.
Push the idea that white Christian nationalism is the only way to be a citizen. I think that's very deep because I've always said that American just means to be a white Christian, to be American. I don't care what those nativist groups who seem to enjoy beginning their history with the transatlantic slave trade. I don't care what those nativist groups say. I've always felt like uh, white to be a American is to be a white Christian, and we can kind of go back because I want to start that over again because I really want you guys to hear what he just said.
I connected with conservative Christian groups in American history, especially white evangelicals, to promote white Christian nationalism as the only form that would keep America safe during the Cold War. And finally, by policing a certain kind of religion and citizenship in America. The FBI sanitized and endorsed a certain kind of white Christian nationalism as the only way to be a citizen, but also policed other forms of religion and politics in America, most notably by going after Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and attempting to discredit the civil rights movement, not as a Christian crusade, but as something that was other or a communist subversion.
Which is, again, white Christian nationalism rooted in being subversive to socialist movements, labor movements, civil rights movements, Black nationalist movements, Black power movements. These were all seen as threats to America. And one way, among the plethora of ways they chose to attack these ideas that grow among the people, is the pushing of white Christian nationalist values and what it means to be American. And so many white Americans have fallen into the idea that this is what it means to be America. Have you ever heard like hillbillies and God bless America and nobody else, right? Like as if their God has given them divine favor and their you know their God is guiding their steps to keep America great and white and to steal the resources in African and Latin American nations. You know, God is ordaining this the same way their God ordained the transatlantic slave trade. We can see, even how when we look at the public schools, um, for part of this culture war has been um, part of this culture war has been uh, the attack on DEI, and right before that, it was the attack on critical race theory in public schools, which was always extremely laughable because DEI is not taught in. I'm not DEI, but critical race theory (CRT) is not taught in American public schools, especially in elementary school. A law level course created by Derek Bell, Dr. Derek Bell, um, is not taught in no damn public schools. Critical race theory was just used as an umbrella to point out anything that was black that the state wanted to get rid of. It had nothing to do with what the real critical race theory is. It was just anything that is black that the state wants to remove from the curriculum. We will lump it in and all together and call it critical race theory. There were books like biographies of Althea Gibson and Jackie Robinson were removed from schools, right? Books that were talking about what happened in the Holocaust were removed from schools. Books that were talking about what happened in the transatlantic slave trade uh, were removed from schools. Books that were talking about um, indigenous people or First Nations people experience in America with the colonizer removed from schools because this culture war says that uh, anything that makes little white children in school be ashamed of being white has to be removed. Well, if you read the history of slavery, right, and you read the history of the Holocaust and the history of European colonialism and the history of the indigenous genocide, um, and you're a European, that's something that you have to reconcile that with. You got to reconcile them feelings, and maybe you can come to the correct side of history. But history is history, and the truth is the truth, right? Which is why, like I remember, it was funny when the 1619 project came out, like how up in arms they were, and then they created the 1776 project um, as the counter to that. You have like PragerU, who is out here trying to preserve the culture and American white Christian American values against the communists and the socialists and the black nationalists and the Muslims, and it's it's uh it's very interesting. Um, even in Oklahoma, I think that they were trying to pass legislation where they were trying to get like uh, Bibles into the school and be able to teach from the Ten Commandments, which is very interesting, right? Because they have clearly said that you can't teach about anything black, you can't teach about you know brown people's experience in America, can't teach about slavery or Black Power movement or civil rights movement. You can't teach about any of these things, but you can teach the Bible and what it means to be a Christian and what it means to be American and how those things, in the eyes of many white Christians, are synonymous. Um, there's even a God bless the USA Bible. And let's go take a look at that real quick. This is Lee Greenwood, and I I don't know who Lee Greenwood is. I think he might be like somebody in the country music space. Yeah, it looks like he is. But he has a God bless the USA Bible. Easy to read, large print, and slim design, this Bible invites you to explore God's Word anywhere, anytime. The Bible has been designed so that it delivers an easy reading experience in the trusted King James Version. The large print Bible will be perfect to take to church, a Bible study, or to work and travel. And I'm sure he's definitely grifting to get some type of government contract to get these white supremacist Bibles into schools, right? Like at the end of the day, you, these people want bread. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not. Um, they're all grifters and scammers and pieces of shit. But God bless the USA Bible. That's like in the Bible, right? The like Jesus would have been considered by some, at least in the history of uh, Black liberation theology spaces, like that you might find at the AME Church and uh, uh, Henry McNeil Turner, and even if you hear some of lectures in the Nation of Islam and things like that. The way that they interpret Christ would be as more of someone who was a revolutionary, who was striving to overturn Roman oppression, right? Like, matter of fact, that some people have done studies at what they considered zealots in biblical times, were people who were fighting against Rome, right? America would be the equivalent to Rome. America would be the equivalent to Rome. And that was wild. I gotta bring this up because I saw this yesterday. I had totally forgot about it. Because speaking of Rome, like this shit here is wild. So hold on real quick. Just one second. All right, so the royal family, um, and I don't call them the royal family because there's nothing uh, royal about them. But Charles, quote unquote King Charles, hold on, give me, yeah, one second. Uh, the quote unquote royal family, I guess, is, and Apple Music is somehow connected to this. It's not anything that I've researched it or anything. I just saw a clip of it yesterday, but they got like a playlist, and they have a picture of like the the quote unquote band at Buckingham Palace playing Bob Marley and giving reverence to Bob Marley as if the royal family is out here jamming Bob Marley. It's so ridiculous. Bob Marley literally called them Babylon, and he was absolutely correct. And the reason I even thought about that is because God bless the USA, biblically would like be like saying God bless Rome, the Roman Empire, or God bless Babylon, right? Like it would literally be that much of a contradiction whenever we look at things as far as how Black people, especially those within Black liberation theology spaces, have viewed who Christ was, right? For them, for many MAGA people, I wouldn't even doubt if they saw. I mean, as silly as it sounds, if they saw Christ as an American white man at this point, to see Christ as an American white man, and look, that Bible was $60 too. This God Bless the USA Bible is $60. And the reviews say that it's like made terribly. Um, it's not good quality. Um, Look, and it has an American flag on the Bible, on the cover of the Bible. It's like having a Bible with a Nazi flag on it. I don't see a difference. I don't see a difference, especially like uh, the growing number of MAGA people embracing the Nazi salute. You know what I'm saying? Mm. We once the apartheid baby did it, you see people, different MAGA people popping up all over all over the country. Uh, uh, you know, doing the hell Hitler and all of that. It's crazy. These people are insane. This culture war is a war against everything that is uh, non-white. This culture war is their vision of what America is and should be. And it is, again, it is not anything new. On the plantation, they, uh, stripped us from our language. They stripped us from uh, our religions. They stripped us. They attempted to strip us from our culture because they, again, the war on culture did not just begin. But now I believe it is being used a little bit differently, as in it is being used as a distraction from what the real issues are. Like the MAGA base can easily be galvanized with attacks on quote unquote critical race theory, attacks on DEI, attacks on immigration, attacks on LGBTQ rights, attacks on women, attacks on quote unquote wokeness, right? And then and it's so interesting for me to see like some of Black MAGA participating in even using the slogans. But um, you know, one thing that if you ever read anything about propaganda and even how certain revolutions have begun, slogans have often been a key point in spreading propaganda, right? Because people will remember a slogan more than they'll remember an essay that they read, even if they even choose to read, right? Uh, but that's why "Make America Great Again" was easily digestible. Like they said, like a lot of Trump's fan base are some of the quote unquote least educated people in America. Give them a slogan. You know what I'm saying? Give them some fear that the Mexicans are crossing the border and they're going to take all your jobs. Or critical race theory is being taught in our schools, and it's going to make our children uh, upset about being white. Oh, let's dismantle DEI programs and because America is a real meritocracy. When has America ever been a meritocracy? Black men and women have been enslaved since the beginning of American history. And then uh, during Reconstruction, white man was like, hell no, right? And federal troops were pulled from the South, and then the terrorizing began. And it's never ended. It just changes forms, it just changes shape. But under a system of Jim Crow, we were extremely limited to what we could do, how we could live, and even where we could go. But they continue to say that America has always been a meritocracy. See, white people have to have the idea that they got what they got because of merit, because of their superiority of being white and the superiority of being American. They have to believe this. They cannot believe that and accept the idea that I don't even use the word white privilege because what it really is institutional. It's it's a system that has set a permanent social hierarchy with white people at the top and black people at the bottom. These are the same white people that'll tell you, because I've had them try to tell me this on Twitter, right? You don't know, you just need to read Thomas Sowell. that's, that's, and then one time they were propping up Candace Owens in the same manner. And this is how I know that, again, Black MAGA and people who support that are literally just parroting ideas from this quote unquote culture war or war on culture. It's because I remember like I was going in on Candace Owens about something. I was going in on Candace Owens about something, and I was asking Black MAGA like, "Yo, so what is it about her that y'all even rock with?" Like, you know what I'm saying? And they said, and these are people that are in the quote unquote conscious community too, or at least they say they are. But they said they like the way she puts women in their place, and they like the way uh, and they like the way she attacks LBGT people. And these were both black male MAGA and black women MAGA that were saying this. And it was just very interesting to see, like, okay, y'all politics are based on this culture war that has been presented to you by white supremacists. Your politics aren't based on the material conditions of the people. Your politics aren't based on what's being done to Africa and Latin America. Your politics aren't based on the wage theft that you experience every day. 54% of Americans said that they are one paycheck away from being homeless. Hey, but let's put that to the side. And because the real problem is DEI, and the real problem is uh, LBGT people and immigrants. The real problem is critical race theory. Um, let's put all of that to the side, right? Let's put, I would love to see a breakdown on just the economic situation of the average MAGA person and how a lot of them are probably some. Don't get me wrong. You obviously have the oligarch class that benefits directly from Donald Trump, but you also have a whole bunch of uneducated hillbillies that will hang on to every word of Donald Trump because again, they are galvanized by their own hate, their hatred of everybody else, and their fear. See, you can galvanize white people just by appealing to their whiteness. They could be poor as shit. But if you say, hey, the real problem is black folks and critical race theory, they'll take up those arms, man. And the people that are giving them this is they know this. They know that they're stupid. That's why I'd be surprised whenever I see quote unquote black conscious people who are repeating this MAGA stuff. It's very weird to me. It's very weird. Uh, and so let's pull up another article. This will be called entitled "Tracing the Rise of Christian Nationalism from Trump to the Alabama Supreme Court." Um, this is a pretty long article. It's about 43-minute listen, so we're definitely not going to uh, read or listen to that whole thing. But we'll just read the beginning of it and see if we can get something from it. All right. So the host, Terry Gross, says, this is Fresh Air. I'm Terry Gross. Christian nationalism, including an extreme version advocated by the group New Apostolic Reformation, the NAR, has become influential in American government, and parts of the judicial system. The NAR advocates for Christian dominion over government, religion, family, business, education, arts, and entertainment, and the media. According to the NAR, some of its opponents are afflicted by demons. Some of its opponents are afflicted by demons. That's funny because they are the actual damn demons. But it reminds me of, I believe it was what Pat Robertson, the white Christian nationalist evangelical who had on one of his programs a while back, long time ago, one of his programs, he was talking about how Haiti is in the position that it is in because they are possessed by demonic forces for the simple fact that they practice voodoo, right? Voodoo, which is something that has an appreciation for nature, a voodoo that the same voodoo that helped to galvanize people during the Haitian Revolution to get the French up out of there and become the first African republic outside of Africa. That voodoo. But the white man said it was demonic, right? Because of the white Christian nationalist rhetoric that they have accepted, internalized, and represent. But that just reminded me of that. Like it's always funny when a white supremacist calls someone a demon. Like, okay. Um, but according to the NAR, some of its opponents are afflicted by demons, which must be cast out through exorcism. The NAR has aligned itself with Donald Trump in efforts to overturn the election. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has said he's profoundly influenced by Dan Cummins, a Christian nationalist activist. A flag associated with NAR hangs outside Johnson's office. An Alabama Supreme Court decision just made it illegal to destroy frozen fertilized embryos that are used in infertility treatments because those embryos are people. The Chief Justice of the court wrote a concurring opinion that says even before birth, all human beings have the image of God, and their lives cannot be destroyed without effacing His glory. And so, as we saw, like what, a year or two ago, repealing Roe v. Wade, and I saw many quote unquote conscious people who said that they were against women's reproductive rights champion this cause. But again, this is rooted in white Christian nationalism. This is rooted in white supremacist men and women interpretation of the Bible and what it means to be American. Regardless of your stance on abortion, right? Supporting what these people are doing is supporting white supremacy and white nationalism. Most of your ideas about abortion more than likely come from some form of religious fundamentalism, right? What you can want for yourself does not mean that you should attempt to limit that for anyone else. And again, they don't care about our children. This is to get their numbers up. You know, the war on our children is not stopping. That's just to get their numbers up. Because again, that great replacement theory is something that be heavily on their mind. I see Elon Musk talk about that shit all the time on Twitter. He's always running numbers on the negative birth rates of Europeans in Europe and in America. And like that's something that weighs on that man heavily because he constantly tweeting about it. This is so bad for humanity. This is just some white Christian nationalism and a solution for that, right? They don't care about your children. But again, people can't see past the rhetoric, you know. And so they're going to this is actually an interview, and it's a pretty long interview. So we'll go to something else. We'll check a few. I have a few things on Twitter pulled up, and we can. This is all right. So we'll start at the top. This is an article. There is no Jesus in MAGA, right? That picture is funny as hell on the thumbnail. With the with the white American Jesus with the "Make America Green" hat on. I'm not even going to open up the article because I got some other things that I want to address, but I just thought that was funny. Now, this what trips me out. The Democratic Party does this as well, but it is so weird to see how these white European politicians push white supremacy, um, who push white supremacy um, and white Christian nationalism, always use some black minister to some black minister to pray over them, to be the face of their Christianity. They'll go and sit inside black churches, and they'll use the face of the black church and Christianity as as you know as a shield for their own dirty religion, which is white supremacy, right? And I'll be wondering why, like something like, damn, you niggas don't have um, any self-respect, you know what I'm saying? But just Pete.
Lord God, we pray that we would lead with a righteous clarity. Father God, that as we serve the people of this country in every prospective agency, every job that we have, Father, we would humble ourselves before you, and we would lead in the manner that you've called us to lead and to serve. Father, Lord God, we pray that we would lead with a righteous clarity. Father God, that as
Donald Trump leading with a righteous clarity. These people, if you are religious, these people would be the shaitan. A lot of these pastors, black pastors, not all, but definitely a lot, for the right bag, would be up here doing that. For the right exposure, they'd be up here doing that. The gospel of Republican Jesus. We must strip from those with the least and further enrich those with the most. That's pretty much exactly what they're on, right? The MAGA Jesus, or even just the American Jesus, is one that is a figment of the white imagination. And I know one could easily say that Jesus, period, is because of, you know, it possibly being allegory or whatever. I'm not here to talk about that or anybody's religion. That's not what I do here. But just thought that was interesting, right? Because, I've seen them in some of these threads. Um, I've seen them in some of these threads be exposed to certain things in the Bible that talk about, charity and welcoming others from other nations, and they just like flipped a wig. I believe I even saw one of them say that it needs to be updated, right? Again, white Christian nationalism is just white supremacy with the Bible in its hand. It's not open. They don't really care about the religion itself. The religion itself is white supremacy. And this obviously, we began to see that again, a resurgence in that with J. Edgar Hoover. And that's what a lot of these Black MAGA people don't understand. You are literally preaching the gospel of J. Edgar Hoover. You are literally preaching the gospel of J. Edgar Hoover. So let's go. This was a TikTok I found, which was interesting. This is about some, the white Christian nationalist stuff that's going on in Oklahoma, which is a big time hotbed for it. This is the place where they wanted to, start implementing policy of you must have a Bible in your classroom, and you have to teach out of the Ten Commandments and things like that. And so we can tap in and listen to what she had to say.
I went to church every Sunday until I was 25. I graduated from Christian University and I studied theology in Israel. You got real butthurt about the fact that I pointed out why put the Bible in schools when it's not working in churches. Let me explain that to you in real time. Oklahoma got really excited about putting the Bible and the Ten Commandments back in schools, and then what happened? A teenager got beaten to death in a high school bathroom, and Representative Tom Woods said, we're going to keep that filth out of Oklahoma because that 16-year-old child was part of the LGBT community. Now Oklahoma has proposed a bill that would make it illegal to have homeless shelters, except in two cities, Oklahoma City and Tulsa. Also, homelessness extends to people that are fleeing domestic violence. It is illegal to offer shelters to these people. So you see here, I have my Bible.
That's nothing new. But doing it under the cloak of Christianity, that also is nothing new, but it is a part of the gospel of white Christian nationalism and J. Edgar Hoover. And now, obviously, a war on poor people, we know who that affects the most. We aren't the only ones, obviously, affected by anything like that, but we know who that affects the most. And Oklahoma, obviously, is a hotbed for that type of shit, but it's spreading. It's clearly spreading, and the sentiment is rapidly growing. This is the brother again who wrote the book, The Gospel of J. Edgar Hoover. And just another little clip from him that we'll play, Professor Lerone Martin.
For evangelicals, I think it's important to be honest about the history. And to not assume that if you don't know this history, then you'll assume that, okay, if we can just get rid of X politician, if we can just get rid of President Trump, right, then everything can go back to, being the real evangelical faith, right? I think what this history does, if we're honest about our history and we want to look it square in the face, we'll see that evangelicals have been reaching out to politicos with very questionable morals and certainly not the same theological beliefs as their political champion. And I think that tradition, that habit, that practice has been with the evangelical faith, at least the modern evangelical movement, from the very beginning with J. Edgar Hoover. As you said earlier, Christianity Today grew in part off of his pen. So we have to be honest about that. And honest about the fact that, as I try to point out in the book, there's a small remnant of evangelicals who start writing into Christianity Today saying, this is not okay. Why are you banking our faith on someone like J. Edgar Hoover, who, is racist, who is paranoid in many ways, who doesn't align with us theologically and morally? Why are you doing this?
Very interesting. I think he makes a good point, is to not just view this as a MAGA and Donald Trump thing, but more of an American thing, because it's not. This didn't start clearly with Donald Trump. And again, like I even stated that the culture war began as soon as we were brought over here in those slave ships. But with the reemergence of white Christian nationalism through what J. Edgar Hoover implemented, I think is a very important understanding to have, because again, you can see that that did not begin with Donald Trump. MAGA uses this very well, though, and I think that's probably why we are talking about it. All right, so let's peep this one real quick.
The Bible be in every... In today's Christian nationalism news, Oklahoma is mandating that the Bible be in every public school classroom and taught, and so they are seeking bids for 55,000 classroom Bibles. But these Bibles must meet...
They're seeking bids, right? Because, again, they want that bread, too. These white nationalist Bible makers, the God Bless the USA Bible and the Donald Trump Bible, because he got a Bible, too, right? It's a way to grift.
Certain criteria, like they have to be King James Version, and they must include copies of the Pledge of Allegiance, the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, let's play that again, because that's crazy. The Bible must have the Pledge of Allegiance, the Declaration of Independence, and the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights inside the Bible. Yo, this shit is crazy. That shit is crazy. Come on.
In today's Christian nationalism news, Oklahoma is mandating that the Bible be in every public school classroom and taught, and so they are seeking bids for 55,000 classroom Bibles. But these Bibles must meet certain criteria, like they have to be King James Version, and they must include copies of the Pledge of Allegiance, the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. Oddly enough, out of the almost 3,000 Bibles that Mardel Christian stores sell, none of them meet that criteria. But do you know whose Bibles do meet that criteria?
This Bible is the King James Version and also includes our founding father documents. Yes, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance are all part of this God Bless the USA Bible.
That's right.
Oh,
Both.
okay. So I wonder if that's the same, what we just showed earlier, the God Bless the USA Bible. It looks like it is. Very strange to have the damn Constitution, Bill of Rights, and all this other Pledge of Allegiance and all this other bullshit inside that Bible. But it tracks. It definitely tracks. And it definitely tracks that Donald Trump is using that as another grift as well.
of the Bibles that Donald Trump has endorsed happen to fit that criteria, that sell for $90 and $60 when you could easily get a King James Bible for $6. So let me get this straight. The party that constantly complains about how their tax dollars are spent are willing to spend extra tax dollars so that a third grader can sit in an Oklahoma public school where there's a 10 commandment on the wall that says do not commit adultery while they read a Bible endorsed by a serial adulterer and a convicted felon.
So, very interesting. A Bible with a Constitution and Bill of Rights, and it's white Christian nationalism is in its expressions can be funny as shit, right? Because again, who wants that? And what kind of psycho are you that thinks that is a dope? That's dope. That's a dope version of the good book. You know what I'm saying? Damn sociopaths. And so this is an article called "Welcome to Donald Trump's New Common Sense Culture War." All right. So this is so let's read. For decades, the Republican Party has championed a culture war with Christianity at its center. For decades, right? Just said that. Now, under President Donald Trump, that war is taking a sharp turn toward the secular. Banning gender treatments for minors, prohibiting transgender people from serving in the military, penalizing educators for teaching critical race theory, and asking federal employees to snitch on managers who promote diversity, equity, inclusion are in. New and aggressive strategies to restrict abortion access are out. Trump's early actions in the White House return reflect a bigger tent GOP being shaped by a MAGA coalition that includes not only the evangelical Protestants and Catholics who have long made up the party's socially conservative core, but a contingent of non-religious Trump acolytes who are predominantly young, male, far more libertarian and sexually libertine than their Christian counterparts, according to interviews with more than a dozen religious and secular social conservatives. The latter group vehemently opposes policies that affirm transgender individuals and promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, but take a more laissez-faire approach to the past cultural war issues such as abortion and same-sex marriage. So what they're saying is this version of white Christian nationalism is just white nationalism, right? So it's a merging of his MAGA base being white Christian nationalists and just white nationalists. And it said it's causing tension within the MAGA coalition, with some abortion opponents quietly voicing frustration that the president hasn't taken bolder action to restrict access in these early weeks of administration. All right, so let's go to another article. It's a Newsweek article. Why do Christian nationalists sound much like the KKK? Well, KKK were Christian nationalists as well, which is so funny because anytime white nationalists and white Christian nationalists bang on another religion, they usually will bring out the worst aspect of that religion and or the worst movements that are associated with that religion, and make that movement indicative to what the religion is. But this is never done with Christianity in America, because if we looked at all of these different Christian groups like the KKK, you know what I'm saying? You might have a different idea and a different view of what it means to be Christian in America. All right, but let me read this. It's becoming increasingly obvious Christian nationalists sound uncannily like the Ku Klux Klan. In a video compilation, The Daily Show spotlighted the nearly identical language and views of Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, Lauren Boebert of Colorado, and Tucker Carlson, and former KKK Grand Wizard David Duke. America, they believe, is a Christian nation, and that must stop white replacement. Again, let's repeat what They said Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Tucker Carlson, and the former KKK Grand Wizard David Duke have, as far as their vision of America. America, they believe, is a Christian nation that must stop white replacement. There we go again with the links between white Christian nationalism and the Great Replacement theory. And today's white Christian nationalism is just like yesterday's. Rachel Maddow recently shined a light on America's first party founder, Gerald K. Smith, specifically his 1950 statement, when a Christian is nationalist, he becomes necessarily a Christian nationalist. Similarly, in July of the year, Green rallied Republicans, we need a party of nationalism, and I'm a Christian, and I say it proudly, we should be Christian nationalists. And this is, again, a lot of where the quote unquote culture war is cloaked in white Christian nationalism. Maddow then revealed Smith's claim of a highly organized campaign to substitute Jewish tradition for Christian tradition, secretive forces trying to enslave the white man and mongrelize our race through the intermixture of black and white races. Right. And so they can't just really come out and say stuff like that now. So they will say it with DEI and they will say it with protect whiteness. Some will come out and say it still. You know what I'm saying? Some that are bold enough. Despite being informed of Smith's hate, Green has only further embraced the Christian nationalist label. A few days after the Maddow segment aired, Green released a proud Christian nationalist T-shirt. The accompanying ad shows her clenching her fist, eager to inflict violence, just as the Christian nationalist insurrections did on January 6th. So, of course, she released a T-shirt, a proud Christian nationalist T-shirt. They're always going to inject the grift into whatever their politics are. They're going to get that bag. You know what I'm saying? Like that's exactly what they're going to do. And again, as we saw with Trump's ugly ass shoes, people will buy them. People will buy them. You know, this people are gullible like that. Their base is gullible like that. They can't see the grift. They will support the grift wholehearted, 100%. But yeah, the grift is real, man. The grift is real. The same month, another self-proclaimed Christian nationalist, Andrew Torba, CEO of Gab and a former consultant of the Republican gubernatorial candidate Doug Mastriano, said Jews aren't welcome in the GOP. This is an explicitly Christian movement because this is an explicitly Christian nation or Christian country. At its very core, Christian nationalism is a hateful, exclusionary ideology. It points that America was, is, and must remain a Christian conservative nation, even if that means subjugating Jews, progressive Christians, atheists, Muslims, polytheists, and other groups white Christian nationalists place low in their hierarchy, people of color, LGBTQ people, women, and immigrants. These articles never can just say, yeah, these are racists who hate black people. They can never say that. Tolbert Green and Boebert are constantly saying the quiet part out loud as they revel in their hate, following a white replacement theory inspired mass murder of 10 black victims. See, I told you, white Christian nationalism is definitely linked with the Great Replacement theory. It's a white Christian nationalist theory. White replacement theory inspired mass murder of 10 black victims. Green downplayed white supremacy as a problem. That is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She even attended a white supremacist conference and when challenged on it, doubled down. Boebert, for her part, engages in casual anti-Muslim and anti-Semitic bigotry. And, you know, when it comes to Islam, they always, you know, they're going to institute Sharia law, you know, that kind of thing. And that you know, white Christians like get mad, scared, and it's easy for them to fall victim to this kind of rhetoric because it just plays on their hatred that they already have. So I don't feel sorry for them, you know what I'm saying? Because again, they're white supremacists at heart. Because if they weren't, they wouldn't be susceptible to this type of bullshit. Meanwhile, the more secretive flank of the movement is. Hold on, did I miss something? Yeah, but Boebert, for her part, engages in casual anti-Muslim and anti-Semitic bigotry, among other racist rhetoric. Yes, there is definitely a replacement theory that's going on right now, she says. Meanwhile, the more secretive flank of the movement is panicking. They want to keep their immorality under wraps and are attempting to damage control. On October 12th, the Christian Nationalist Family Research Council had a conference centered around the term Christian nationalism and how it's making them look bad because that's why they care about, that's what they care about, optics. All right, so let's look at this one because I pulled up this one because of we can't divorce the grift from this either, right? It's important to understand the grift and how these white Christian nationalists lobby politicians as well and have these politicians in pocket the same way APAC does. Money Lies in God, the rise of Christian nationalism and the battle for American democracy. Vote the Bible, take a stand for morality is what this picture says. Vote the Bible, take a stand for morality. And a white Christian is going to tell you what is moral and what is not. A white Christian is going to tell you what is moral and what is not. Money Lies in God, the rise of Christian nationalism and the battle for American democracy. Catherine Stewart's third book on the anti-democratic right wing, Money, Lies, and God inside the movement to destroy American democracy features a diverse cast of allied characters, right-wing Catholic evangelicals and Pentecostal clergy and their loyal congregants, atheist billionaires, conservative intellectuals, deep-pocketed funders, misogynists, eager to reverse feminist gains, Jewish devotees of Ayn Rand, white supremacists, anti-vax activists, and opponents of public education, environmental protections, and the so-called deep state among them. One of the interesting things is white Christian nationalists who are, against environmental protections, literally not giving a shit about destroying the Earth planet that they live on, right? Like, according to their theology, that would have been created by God Himself. But let's destroy it. Let's let the ruling class and billionaire class destroy the planet that we live on, that according to your Bible, God created. Again, they don't really have any type of connection with whoever their God is. Their connection is more with their own whiteness and the illusion of their own whiteness and what it even means to be white. This unprecedented coalition, Stewart writes, involves a dizzying array of organizations and individuals, all of them hell-bent on winning more than a seat at the noisy table of American democracy. Instead, she writes, they favor burning down the house. What's more, Stewart describes the movement as more political pathology than political program and notes that the overarching aim of this well-coordinated campaign is the destruction of democracy and the elevation of Christian nationalism. The destruction of democracy is, for many people in America, we have never even seen this as a democracy. So I don't really pay attention to much of that, but the elevation of Christian nationalism is what I'm focused on here. They say it's a chilling finding, but Stewart also reports that these anti-democratic forces do not always operate in lockstep and are divided by numerous internal contradictions. Should they support free speech or push for book bans? See, it's not really a contradiction though, because Elon Musk, who is and Doge, who are leading the quote unquote attack on the preservation of free speech, he will censor the shit out of you on his app. He will push other censorship on things that he does not agree with. they're okay with censoring people if it doesn't align with their white supremacist ideology. The only time they don't want, the only time like free speech for them is to be able to be as racist as possible in mainstream media and other medias. That's what free speech is to them. It don't apply to us. Like you remember, I remember when the work visa thing and immigration topic and work visa topic of you know Indian tech workers that were coming over here, and obviously tech billionaires were for this because they could pay them a lot less money to come over, and Elon Musk. Was publicly saying that this was okay after he also, previously talked about how immigration is a problem. Obviously, immigration isn't a problem when it comes to enriching himself with the work of these Indian immigrants that were coming over, and so people were pointing out that contradiction, and people that had big influence within the MAGA sphere, right? People that had, their blue checks, people that had big followings. And they started going in on Elon because there's like, yo, when we say we're anti-immigrant, we don't want anybody coming over here that's not white, right? And whenever they started attacking Elon, he removed their certification badges, and in many cases, he kicked them off of his platform. So they don't really support free speech. They support their speech. They support hate speech, but they don't support free speech. And so this goes into, I guess, an interview, and we're not gonna read that. This here is uh, Christians are pressing Trump to clear a path for Israel to annex the West Bank, and uh, I wanted to bring this up to kind of just show the connection of white Christian nationalism and Zionism as well, right? They are kindred spirits. So let's read some of this. Evangelical Christian leaders who delivered votes to President Trump are now pressing him to declare that Israel can claim ownership of the West Bank based on a promise God made to the Jews in the Bible. These are some sickos. And what's ironic about that is many of the Zionists who are in Israel and abroad in America do what they really think about Christian nationalists is that they think that they are a bunch of idiots as well, right? According to their own politics and their own theology. But they will let them align with them if it means that they are able to push their cause even further. They are seeking a way to pave a path toward annexation of territory that is widely viewed internationally as intended for a future Palestinian state. Israel seized the territory as part of a war between Jordan, Egypt, and Syria in '67 and has occupied it since. The wording here is trash for obvious reasons. It was obviously a colonization effort backed by, um, Zionists to exterminate Palestinians and take their land. Don't make it seem like it's some mutual war between everybody. But anyway, prominent evangelical supporters of Mr. Trump are mounting a multi-pronged approach to pressure the president, making appearances in Israel, petitioning the White House, pushing their ideas at a key evangelical conference, and building congressional backing. Some of America's leading evangelicals, including Ralph Reed, Tony Perkins, and Mario Bramick, visited Jerusalem on Tuesday to publicly back Israel's sovereignty of the West Bank. And we don't have to go anymore, but again, as you can see, they have connections with Zionism as well. And so, again, Black MAGA that are accepting the tenets of this white Christian nationalist culture war, uh, this is what you are associated with. These, you know, people, brothers and sisters who are, you know, running amok inside the quote unquote conscious community, who are with a pro-Trump stance. Uh, this is the stuff that you are aligning yourself with. Um, and you know, whenever I was having that conversation with those brothers on Facebook, one of the interesting things that they said, they said, well, the world is fighting against this as well. And when they said the world, per the articles that they sent me, the world meant Europe, which is ironic, right? But even so, as we know of the whole Make America Great Again movement, let's see how these white nationalist ideas are becoming more overt in Europe as well with the Make Europe Great Again movement. The idea to rid Europe of Muslims and Arabs and Africans, to protect the Christian values of Europe. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's all spreading, and so whenever they were coming at me like, "Yo, this is just a response to conservatism," I mean, to a response to liberalism, I said, "No, this is a white supremacist movement uh, that is a response to." Uh, the browning of their countries and the illusion of what it means to be white crumbling around us at every moment. So let's read some of this. Blue baseball caps and t-shirts sporting a continental version of Donald Trump's political rallying cry, "Make Europe great again," abound at a gigantic conference center near the U.S. Capitol, Washington, this week. Leaders across the European right have arrived at the annual Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, in droves, seeking ideas and insights from those at the heart of the movement that has reshaped the United States. And that just reminds me of how Hitler was inspired by the Jim Crow, right? Let us get some of that over there, right? It sounds like the same thing. This idea of America first, it also refers to what we would like, that is to say, a little Europe first. Raphael Ador, director of Foundation des Patriotes, that's in French, and I don't speak French, told the AFP. The return of national borders, which is what Trump is defending, echoes what we're defending in different European countries. Keep Europe white, keep America white. Um, this is what they're getting at. Uh, CPAC is an annual gathering of conservative leaders and activists that this year is celebrating Trump's return to the White House, with members of the administration and political allies featuring heavily among the speakers. Many of the American attendees are happy to see that Trump's brand of bombastic populism is also inspiring European leaders. Well, that makes them happy because their religion is white supremacy. Hmm. And so um, I'm not going to read these next articles. You can pull them up yourself, but this just kind of goes to show what's happening in Europe. Racism and discrimination against Muslims increasing in Europe as part of this culture war. Shameful rise against Black people has been noted by a European Union survey. We didn't have to see a survey to understand that this shit is always on the rise, right? But anytime you see a rise in white nationalism, you're going to see a rise in an anti-Black sentiment, anti-Muslim sentiment, anti-Jewish sentiment, um, anti-women, woman sentiment. And so this is all par for the course with them. And again, so this is what Black MAGA and those who are defending this quote unquote culture war are defending. They think that this is something that is coming from just their the morality and good values of what it means to be American. It's coming from white supremacy, man. And I just don't understand how many of them can't see that. But hey, man, some people have eyes to see, some people don't. Some people are so locked into their information loops that they are allowing themselves to be propagandized by on a daily basis. That there's just really no way out for them, man. Um, and some just everybody ain't gonna make it. You know what I'm saying? But again, I appreciate you guys for staying for coming through and staying tuned and chopping it up on this first episode of the rundown. And so again, definitely we're going to be more interactive, and this will be live moving forward. But until it is live, it will be recorded um, and so again, I definitely appreciate everybody's support. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And that will be the first episode of the rundown. And I will see you next time. Peace.